You know, in the movie Animal House, Bluto is one of my favorite characters of all time in movies. Really enjoyed college, and he said, "Oh, I love college. It's the best 7 years of my life." And you know, just to show how much I enjoy that movie, I wore my T-shirt today underneath my regular shirt. And this is the truth, I actually took more than 7 years to get through college for one reason or another. Spurts in the Navy and that kind of thing. At any rate, I can help you get through college a little bit faster than I did and Bluto did. One way to do that is to learn to use mnemonics when you're preparing for those tight periods when you have to accumulate a lot of verbal information quickly. So mnemonics are great tools, and there's a number of them that we're going to consider. There's a keyword and method. There's peg word method, which is a form of chaining. There's the method of loci, and then there are single-use mnemonics. What we'll do throughout this is try to help you realize that mnemonics, like a lot of learning, is based on association. You have to, with mnemonics, you want to remember those things which you're observed, that you observe are those things that you're most likely to remember because they're more concrete. You can also remember mnemonics well because you associate it with something that you already know. So there's that association of something that's very familiar that's important. And then the other thing about mnemonics that's very important is that you create a strong mental picture that you basically use imagery to promote acquisition of verbal information. Now, the weakness of mnemonics is that they tend to leave unless you rehearse these things that you're trying to learn fairly frequently. So repetitive rehearsal is a critical facet of continuing to use things that you've memorized through mnemonics. Back in ancient Greece, and in other ancient civilizations, one of the most valued skills was the ability to recall a great amount of information. And it was done largely through a method that we're going to consider next, the method of loci. Now, the way it works was that a speaker would actually visualize parts of a story or parts of a speech. They would actually attach that to particular places with which he or she were very familiar. So with the method of loci, what you essentially do is you use a story in your mind to visualize locations with which you're very familiar, and then after you go through the locations in your head, you attach particular items to the thing that you're trying to remember. So I'm going to take you through my mental processing as I memorize 5 words: apple, CD-ROM, chair, homework, and video camera. When I do this on camera, I get really nervous, so I may have to cheat and look at my sheet, but I'll show you the process. Number one thing we do is visualize the place. Now, I wish I could take you to my home and show you what I'm remembering, but I'll tell you what I'm remembering. When I walk out my house, out the back door, I have a small deck there, and as I walk out the house, I imagine myself seeing that deck. That deck is the first station that I want to remember for the method of loci. The next area I walk into a carport area. So the next station that I have to remember very clearly and visualize in my mind, and usually I do this with my eyes closed quickly, is the carport. Now, if I walk down the driveway, I have a very long driveway, I first go down to a place where I need to bear to the right. And sometimes I see there's a little area there where the rabbits tend to go into the woods from the elbow of my driveway. So I remember very clearly the elbow of the driveway. So now I'm remembering the deck, I'm remembering the carport, I remember the elbow of the driveway. And then as I continue to walk down, I see a place where one driveway merges with my driveway. It's kind of an area, and there's some bushes there, and at the end of that are some mother-in-law tongues. There's some plants that look like tongues, I guess. If you haven't seen them, it sounds weird, but it helps me remember because it's a sort of a place that I know about very clearly. So that's the fourth area. So far I've gotten the deck, I've gotten the carport, I've got this sort of elbow area where the rabbits run into the woods. I've got the fourth area in the mother-in-law tongue, and then finally I'm at the end of the driveway, and there's a big mailbox where I get the mail. So there's a big mailbox. So now I have these four things that I want to remember. I want to remember apples, CD-ROM, chair, homework, and video camera. I'm hoping I'm getting this in the camera. So Apple, CD-ROM, chair, homework, video cameras. Lots of ways I can remember this, but now I want to use the method of loci. So the first thing, when I walk out my door, I see the deck, and on the deck I see an apple, and I imagine myself stepping on that apple, stomping on that apple. Remember, you want to create, the more outrageous the image, the more likely you are to associate it with your memory because it's very concrete. The second thing I want to remember is a CD-ROM. So I imagine myself seeing CD-ROMs hanging from all over in the carport. So I'm in the carport and I'm looking around and I'm saying, gosh, there's CD-ROMs everywhere in the carport. It's a very strange morning. I've stomped on an apple and now I've got CD-ROMs all over my carport. And the third area I go down to as I walk down my driveway is a little elbow where the rabbits go into the woods. And I see where the little entrance to where the rabbits go, I see chairs around there. So the rabbits have to go underneath chairs to go into the woods. They have to actually go through the chairs. So I remember the chair. Now, the fourth area as I walk up my driveway is a place where the roads diverge and the mother-in-law tongues are, and for some reason my homework that I had to do is taped, or maybe I'll use a paper clip to the mother-in-law tongues, and I see these papers in the homework that I had to do. And the fifth area that I come to is the mailbox, and I imagine myself going to the mailbox and I see a video camera that's inside the mailbox. So now these are five. I could memorize. I've done lists of 50 of this. So these are the five things, and I can't see them. But so I walk out the door, I step on an apple, I go into the carport, and I see CD-ROMs. I walk down the driveway, I see chairs going into the carport. I walk up the driveway and I see my homework attached to the mother-in-law's tongue, and finally I go to the mailbox and I see a video camera inside the mailbox. So you can see that it's fairly easy if the images are outrageous and you're very clear about the places you want to attach them to. It's fairly easy to memorize even large numbers of things, and that's a great trick that came down from hundreds of years BC, and was highly valued by ancient civilizations.